Welcome to My Time to Shine. I'm your host, Emily.
Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have an incredibly inspiring guest on. He is a cancer survivor. He does a lot of running, a lot of fundraising for charity, and he goes by the name Big Fletch. So maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about the history of the name of Big Fletch, because that's a big name, and a bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, aka Big Fletch or Fletch, the big side came about from the running group that I'm part of in the UK. There was another Fletch the same, but fortunately enough, I'm 6 foot. I used to be 6'4", lost a little bit in age, 6'3". So the terminology of Big Fletch came about because I was a lot taller than the other little Fletch, and he became Little Fletch. So I adopted it, and it's stuck ever since. So, but everybody knows me around as Fletch, but obviously when I do stuff now, it's sort of Big Fletch or whatever. So that's sort of stuck as such. Basically, it's more a hype thing than anything else. Before, obviously, I was diagnosed. A lot of people may say that it may have been a size thing as well. So I was fortunate enough. I lost a hell of a lot of weight through the diagnosis and stuff, which obviously we'll come on to. But yeah, so yeah, Big Fletch is stuck as such and Fletch. So so I'm from Kent. I'm married. I have 4 stepsons, 4 grandchildren. I have a daughter with a granddaughter as well. Been living in Kent virtually all my life. And as you so rightly said there, I enjoy my running. Came into running late from sort of like a rugby career as such, and a rugby background. And then that sort of like folded through age and fitness and injuries. And then obviously the weight piled on, and then I found sort of like running at around the age of probably 40, late 48, 49 as such. So I was pretty late into it. And yeah, and basically I wanted to run a marathon. So I used to enjoy drink. Not gonna lie, kids don't do it, people don't do it. If you do it, please give up. I was a smoker, I'm not gonna lie. But we'll come on to that. But yeah, I used the mentality and my mental strength of I wanted to run a marathon before I was 50. And I knew in my mind from my sporting background that there's no way I'm going to run 26 miles while still smoking. So it gave me the push to give up. So yeah, I gave up smoking and then went on to obviously run a London Marathon. Again, come on. I live in Kent, as I said. Don't want to divulge too much, obviously. We'll wrap it all up in 5 minutes.
That's it done. Podcast
Exactly,
over.
yeah. So I live down in Kent. I work for an incredible company, MTS Cleansing, who've supported me through my journey as well. And yeah, and I'm engaging life a lot better now than what I was previously. So
Yeah.
yeah.
When we go back to rugby, so what did you do? Was that like professional, semi-professional, or just for fun? Or?
Yeah, back in the day, I came through the ranks and enjoyed it, and then had I got a real bad arm injury. I nearly lost my arm. And along with a severe neck injury as well, dislocating C2 and C3 of my neck and stuff. So I went through that rigmarole and process of basically not being able to walk for a little period of time. I was moved around to the Brook in London and then up to Stoke Mandeville for my neck and stuff. And yeah, it just put a dampener on things really. I didn't know I was going to walk again. My parents were told to potentially look at adapting the house, that sort of stuff. But what it turned out to be was the dislocation of the two caused a spinal concussion or spinal compression of the cord, which basically crushed it. So I was transferred to Stoke Mandeville for rehabilitation, and probably one of the lucky few that was able to walk out of Stoke Mandeville. Not many people do, because obviously it's a world renowned and famous sort of like spinal unit up there. So I was fortunate enough to be able to be one of the lucky ones that walked out of there from,
Wow.
fantastic support from my rugby family and my own family as well. So yeah, and then obviously got a little bit into coaching, enjoyed that. Got a bit into refereeing, that sort of thing. Again, enjoyed it, but I still missed playing as such. So it got to a point where I felt so fit and good that I actually made that dreaded mistake of going back to the consultant and saying, "Look, I'm doing this. I feel this. I feel that. Can I go and play? Can I go and play?" You know, and I edging, and they were very very good. They sort of like checked me all over, and he said, "Yeah, I mean, your body's the same as what anybody else's will. So, you know, it's entirely your decision." So, yeah, so that enabled me to go back and then go back and yeah, get a damaged arm. So, that sort of like put an end to it. So, but I love it still, and I always do. You know, I'm involved. Been involved in many rugby clubs around the area, and also sort of like nationwide as well. So, yeah, and there's a good family, and it's one of those sports where you can go, I think, to anywhere, any club, or if you go to Twickenham, you will bump into someone that you know. It's
Oh,
very strange. Yeah, I mean, I know people go to football and stuff like that, but it's just something about rugby, and it's just so enjoyable sport. You know, everybody's engaged, everybody's mixed. There's no segregation as such, but you know, I've been to many events, many rugby games as well, and yeah, I always bump into somebody that knows of me or I know them, and the conversation starts, and then the rugby family goes bigger. So so yeah, so it's a fantastic sport, and obviously, you know, it's an all over fitness as well. You've got to be fit below
yeah.
as well as your upper body now. So but yeah, I class myself as sort of like a part of the rugby family, and it's good.
Oh, I love that. So, is that something that you did growing up then, or
Yeah.
throughout your childhood?
Yeah, so I went to school in Gravesend, St George's, and that was sort of like a good rugby school as such. Our PE master at the time was a guy called Peter Ford, who was a England under-19s player as well. So he had that mentality, and it was that sort of sport. You know, I enjoyed football. Don't get me wrong, and there is the wrong side of football, which sort of was drawing, and then sort of like my PE master was like, "Well, you need to get a grip of this, mate. You need to work out what you want because you're going to end up going down the wrong path." And yeah, and it was. You know, if you go down this path, you're going to go down a path that's not going to be good for you, and you're going to end up in places you don't really want to go. Um, under Her Majesty's pleasure as such, or you can come down the rugby ground and the rugby route. And back then, it was a full contact sport. You know,
Mm.
if a player was on the wrong side, you got a good shoe in. You know, that sort of stuff. You know, there's nothing sort of like shoulders and above was. You know, there was a code of conduct as such, you can call it. But
Yeah.
yeah, if he was on the wrong side, you get a good shoe in, and you got rid of a lot of aggression. Yeah, you know, you see it on the TV now. There's punch ups and stuff like that. Back then,
Yeah.
there's not as many TV cameras around, so there was a little bit more you got away with. I won't lie. But you got that aggression, you got that anger out on the park, and then you come off the park and you have a beer together.
Yeah.
That was what made it never. It's you hear probably if you go on a lot. Sorry, you go on a lot of these podcasts that are out, and of the other podcasts, certainly rugby ones as such. You hear about a lot of the players, a lot of people talking about crossing that white line, and there
Mm.
is that white line as you go onto the pitch. Your mentality becomes something different. You know, you have a warm up, you cross that white line. You've got to put your mind and your body into a different frame because it's going to get battered and you're going to get hurt. Um, but then when you come off that pitch and you cross that white line again to normal civilization as such, if you want to call it, your body changes and you go to normal mode and you go to understanding how you feel and respectfulness to other players. And, you know, you have a shower, by which time you've cooled down, or a nice bath. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, get that one in. And then you cool it, and then you meet up in the bar and you have a beer. and how long that beer lasts is entirely up to you, and how long the rugby club stays open. And many a times I've rolled in at 5 o'clock in the morning from, from leaving home at lunchtime, because we've just put out on the beer.
Wow.
So, but yeah, it's just a fantastic sport, and it's a fantastic social side as well. So, but yeah, so grew up through school, local rugby club Gravesend, and then on to local rugby club as well. So it was good. It was good fun.
Right. I love that. Do you think that kind of like guided you as a kid then? Because you said about going on the wrong path. What was
Yeah.
that? Were you quite naughty at school?
Yeah. I'll have to come clean because I'm sure my wife will come on and track me down
Oh.
and give me the true story. Because yeah, she knows. Yeah, I wasn't. How can we put? I wasn't. I went to school. I got an education. But yeah, there was stuff at school that I'm not proud of now. I'm not
Mm,
proud of.
yeah.
And it involved bullying. I'm going to be open and honest, and I will be. Yeah, and some of it wasn't nice. Not to a point where there was physical marks and stuff. It was just back then. It was ridiculous. There was. I won't name anyone and stuff. But there was several instances where we would be in a science block, and in a science classroom,
Mm.
the benches were sat. You had benches, and then you had the gas burners and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We would I'd turn them on and burn a guy's coat, that sort of stuff, or just stuff that I'm not proud of now. And my wife often says it. So, one day you're going to meet so and so, and
Mm.
you're going to get a good kicking. You know what I mean? Because he's going to be twice the size of you, twice as big as you, and he's going to remember. But yeah, yeah, and that was the wrong side of me.
Yeah.
It wasn't nice. I'm not proud of it,
Mm.
but it enabled me in a positive way to take the right decision and take the
Yes.
right route, because I found rugby and the discipline that rugby bore. It
Mm.
is a disciplined sport. There is a code of conduct. There is set guidelines. You're respectful to the referee. There's none of this like football abusive and whatever. That is it. It's as simple as that. So that did grow me as a disruptive youngster kid coming through, being
Mm.
ridiculous and stupid at the time, to hopefully the person I am now. I still have my moments. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot more controlled because there's processes in place that I've taken in regards to counselling and stuff like that,
Mm.
that I know what to do. So, now, if we go out, I can still meet up with rugby mates. We go out, trouble escalates. I'm the peacemaker, as they say,
Oh.
rather than the instigator of it. So, yeah, it's a past I'm not proud of. I'm not,
Mm.
and it's not great, and it doesn't make you feel good. I see stuff on the telly, and even these day and age, and I think, like, if that was back in my day, God knows it would be ridiculous. It was bullying, yeah, but it wasn't. There was nothing really dangerous in regards to it. It wasn't like what you see on the news now with knives and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. That's not right. But unfortunately, that's the world and the culture we live in. Unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
not nice to see.
I think that's a big important point there, because it just shows that you can change as a person. Because I can relate to that. I was quite a naughty kid at school. I was bullied. I was a bully as well. But
No,
looking at us now, you wouldn't think that, because we're
no.
totally different, and we're adults now, and you can reflect upon it and your own behaviour. I think a lot of kids today, they don't have that outlet. Like you had rugby. I did go down a wrong path, and then eventually I found fitness and sports.
Mhm.
But I think nowadays there's a lot more pressure on kids, because they've got social media, and there's like cyberbullying, and it gets a lot more like internal and personal now.
Absolutely. I mean, and then it
Yeah.
goes as far as even the sort of, the Xbox and the PlayStation and stuff like that. Kids. I'm Where are we now? 2025. I'm 56. I have to get the maths going, you know?
Yeah,
And I back when I was a youngster, there wasn't all that. It was, you didn't stay in. You couldn't wait to go out. You get home from school. All right, in my case, you bung the homework aside, told mum you'd done it at school already, but you wanted to just get out with your mates and catch up with everybody, and do what you want to do out. Now the kids are coming home and the bag goes in the thing and they're bang straight on the TV screens and they're doing their Xbox or they're
yeah,
doing whatever they want. And then they're playing, these games, Call of Duty or whatever. And it's just all violence. If I'm on if let's be honest,
yeah.
it is. She's shooting this and shooting that. So, when I grew up, I didn't have that. I got a bike at Christmas, and I was well looked after by my parents, and I got football boots or rugby boots or something like that. But
Mhm.
I got or cricket or that sort of stuff, and there was no. I think the first game I had was a game called Asteroids on a silver sort of like box as such with a little control and a round screen, and you shooted like these asteroids at boulders, and you had to, and that was my first little computer game before even Sega came out. So it's, some of your listeners may even remember, and if you do, let us know and whatever. If you
Yeah.
remember the asteroid game, it was brilliant. It was a little silver box with a round screen. You had a control panel and a pad, and you fired, and you moved it around, and it shot these lasers across, and you blew up boulders, and then the boulder would get smaller. And you had to get it and get it and get it until you cleared your level. So that's what I had. So there was none of this what you got now. But yeah, it's a shame. You don't see the kids out now on their bikes.
No.
Unfortunately, if I live in a close, which is a cul-de-sac and whatever, probably,
Mm.
God, I'd be lucky if I see a kid riding around there on his bike once a month, if that. And and it's a shame because they're either inside or they're doing something totally different. Where's that fun gone? But then there's that aspect of a lot of parents have in that material. They don't want to let the kids out of sight because of things that are going on and in the world and stuff like that. Where I was in the village that we lived in when I was growing up in Snodden or whatever. My mum would take us out in a pram, and I'd be left outside the shop in the pram, or Waitrose across the road. I'd be left outside in the pram. And Mum nips in and grabs something, and she'd come out, and I'm still there. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's many a time she was hoping I'd be taken, but it never actually happened.
Oh,
No, but that was back then, and things change and it's different. And I'm sure in sort of 50 years' time, my
yeah,
grandchildren and or our children or whatever are going out and look back and go, and it'll be different then. So there
yeah,
is different aspects, but yeah, everybody changes, and you've got to want to change as well. You've got to, make those decisions. You said there that you sort of went down the wrong path, and then you found fitness and well-being and stuff, and it is there, and a good friend of mine, and it's not name dropping or whatever, Susie Shaw. She's another, she openly talks about her, welfare and stuff, and the path that she had, alcohol and stuff, and you've got to want to change. You've got to want to do it, and I was down that path, I was drinking, not heavily, but yeah, I would be going out most Saturday nights after rugby and whatever, and not rolling in till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be smoking as well. And then, I came to a point where I wanted to change my lifestyle because I'd put on so much weight. I was large, I was huge, and climbing the stairs was not good for me. It was like
mm,
I was getting out of breath climbing the stairs to a point where the GP even said to me, like, if you carry on with what you're doing, you'll be lucky to see next year. And that's a bit of a wake
wow.
up call. Yeah, it's a bit of a wake up call, and you think, really, like this, and you look at the doctor, and he's like, I'm telling you now, the way you're going and what you're doing, you'll be lucky to hear. So you those sort of things like that change you, and if it doesn't change you, then carry on doing what you want to do. I'm not an advocate of you must change. It's you've got to want to do it for yourself. When I gave up smoking, um, to be able to do the stuff that I wanted to do when I found running and move on and do marathons and stuff,
Mm,
I, I, I wanted, it was my decision to give up. I'd been pestered by my family, by by my daughter-in-law because, we had a first grandson, you're not going to get near him because you smell of smoke and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. But when you're a smoker, I'd go outside and smoke and then come back in. You don't smell it. You don't
Yeah.
smell it, and so I'd be like, well, I don't smell it. I don't smell. And they're like, you do. Bang, bang, bang. So, and then they say, oh, you must give up. You've got to give up. You've got to give up. And I was one of those ones where you keep telling me to do something, I ain't going to do it. I'll do it when I want to do it. And that was when I set myself the goal of wanting to run a marathon, and I never told anybody that I was giving up. And I gave up smoking on 1st of April 2018. I
Wow.
never told anybody. And it was probably a good 3 weeks before the family noticed and thought, you haven't had a cigarette for, I haven't seen you smoke. I went, no, I gave up 3 weeks ago. Oh, you like this? Yep, I gave up. And it just carried on. And then I got into that mentality of using my mind and my willpower to say that, I gave up because I wanted to run London Marathon and also for health as well. Because I wanted to run London Marathon in 2019 and I got a place. So I knew that if I carried on smoking, there's no way I'd be able to run 26 miles. And that's me personally. Don't get me wrong. I know there's people out there that run, and I've even ran with people that vape whilst they're running. And I'm like, how the hell can you do this?
Wow.
But, yeah, no, it's incredible, and they're running good times. But for me personally, I know I couldn't. So that was the will power inside me and the mental side of me to say that, yeah, you want a fag, and I'd smell it. Oh, yeah, no, I could. Oh, yeah. No, if I have a smoke or if I have a cigarette, I've just done the last 4 weeks or the last 2 months or the last 3 months. And it just built its way to a point where I actually detest it so much now. I hate it. I will move away from people that smoke. I cannot stand the smell of it. Absolutely. And I know there's a saying of, um, if there's nothing worse than an ex-smoker as such, and it's probably true. I am terrible. And there's an incident's come, and I'll come on to it a bit later. But yeah, I fully believe in sort of like you've got to want to do it yourself and make that change.
That's really powerful, that. What was the initial inspiration to want to do a marathon anyway? So you obviously didn't book it to stop smoking, but because
Yeah.
of the marathon, you ended up stopping. And what was the time frame in getting the place and then
Yeah.
doing it?
So I wanted, we've all seen it on the telly. You sit there on that Sunday morning, you see the stuff. Oh, I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to do it next year. And I must admit, I'd entered a few for a few ballots beforehand and never been successful and stuff. And then it got to a stage where it was my mindset of like, I'm coming up for 50. I want to do something before something positive or something that benefits me before I'm 50. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a marathon. And I knew that I probably couldn't do it via a ballot place. So I was fortunate enough that I had a friend at my local golf club that worked for Leukemia UK. Yeah. So I spoke to her and she said, yeah, no, I can sort it out. So I was fortunate enough, lucky enough to be able to get a place in there. So I knew I had a place. So I knew I was doing London Marathon. There's no do a bit of training like, I might not get it. And then it backs off. I knew then I had to train. So I gave up, as I said, on the 1st of April because I knew there's no way I'll be able to smoke, and that gave me first year, just over a year to get fit, stop smoking, and then run a marathon in 2019, which would be sort of April, May, June, two and a bit months before I was turned 50.
Oh,
So
there we
yeah,
go.
it was. So I raised money for charity as well. So I did a few rugby events and stuff like that. So I was able to raise money for them as well. Had a friend who coached as well, Eliza. She'd done some running and previous marathons and stuff. So she was a fitness coach. She did me a training plan. So I did the training plan that she and I stuck to it vigorously. It put a big strain on my marriage and as well because of my background in the sporting aspect and what I did. if I committed to this, I had to do it properly. It's my first time. I'm focused on it. I'm going to do this properly. So I was going to bed at like 8, 9 o'clock on a Saturday night because I had to get up at 6 because I had to eat my breakfast 2 hours before I go off and do a long run. And I'll be doing runs in the evening and stuff. So it affected our personal life or my personal life. I wasn't able to go to a lot of family of gatherings. And it got to a point where it's quite funny. My wife would say that, I was invited to family events and, I'm not there. And she, oh, no, Fletch. No, he's gone to bed early. He's training for the Olympics. So that was a sort of, I'm training for the Olympics. I'm training for this. So, but I was, really, I wanted to do it. So for me to do it, I had to focus on doing it properly. So I had a proper training plan. My days were set for running and everything. I had another friend that gave me a bit of a dietary, so I went on the keto diet. So I started to lose weight a little bit quicker to get down. And then virtually through that sort of like 58 or 59 weeks or whatever it was plan as such. It started from, just going out the door and running a couple of K, walk, run, walk, building it up to running the 10K. I did a half marathon before, or 2 half marathons before the London, and just put my way up that way. And I literally have not looked back. I love it now. I love it so much. So it changed my life. It changed me as a person, fitness wise. I love to run now. It's my escape. It's my time to do what I want to do, whether I'm a 30-minute 5K or an hour and a half, 2 hours out. I put some music on or put a podcast on or something like that, take my drink, and away I go. And that's my time, and I've got my own thoughts and everything, and I absolutely love it. Especially even more so now after everything I've gone through with everything, just for my mental health. I use that and say that quite a lot, and it does, because it's now when I'm out in the fresh air, doing what I want to do, and if I have to walk for a bit, I'll walk for it. I'm not fast, but I'm out exercising and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to mention that to runners. Like, if you need to walk, walk. Because
Yeah,
I should have done this the other day on my. It was meant to be a 10-mile run, and
yeah,
I just finished 9.88 miles, and my body said no. And I think if I would have gave myself permission to walk, I could have carried on. But no, I was like, I'm running the whole way. I'm not allowed to
yeah,
walk. So I think, yeah, for any runners listening,
yeah.
you're allowed to walk. It's okay.
Massively, massively. My sister did it. My sister trained for one of her first marathon, and she got to a point where she couldn't physically. And people said to her, "Max, if you've got to walk, you've got to walk." Yeah, but I've got to run. You've got to run the marathon. No, you're doing a marathon. Whether you run it
Yeah.
or walk it, run, walk or whatever,
Mhm.
you've got that to do. You don't have to run it all, and if you want to.
Yeah.
She couldn't get that fathom out of her head. And I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a big goal to be able to say you ran, a marathon as such,
Yeah.
26.2 mile, bang, you ran it all the way. And I've done 4, 5, I think London's or something like that. I've still yet to run the whole thing. Still yet to run the whole thing. To a point where some races I've done, I've actually walked because of the way I felt.
Mhm.
Touched on it there and said, this is one of the key things for me as well, is listen to your body.
Yeah.
Listen to your body. That's the key. And I saw you posting about your run, and you're going out and you was excited and the nerves kicked in at start, I saw, and everything, but you got out and you did it, and but you listened to your body as well, regardless of whether you walked or whatever. You still did 9.8. That's
Mm.
9.8 miles more than what you did at the start. you
Yeah,
know and and
that's
and
it.
one of the other things I say to people, and that say to me, oh, like, how do I get started? I'll tell you what you can do for start running. Anyone listening to this is thinking about doing running. You don't need all the gear to start with. Yes, I would say, and a sensible pair of trainers, don't get me wrong,
Mm.
but we've all got shorts or some sort of top or something like that. A reasonably sensible pair of trainers to start. But wherever you live, whether you live in a village or live in a town or on the outside of a town, somewhere around you there will be a supermarket or a mini market of some sort. Okay. and I say this, and it's probably more to the ladies and certainly for the men or whatever, is find that supermarket, whether it's a mile away or 800 meters away or whatever, find that supermarket and go, right, I'm going to run to the supermarket. I'm going to buy a bottle of wine, or I'm going to buy a can of beer, or whatever, or a bottle of red, or whatever it is, and then I'm going to run back. But you've got to do those two, because when you get back, you've earned that reward to be able to have a glass of wine or whatever you choose. You know,
Yeah.
and I say to people, like, at the end of it, you feel knackered. Don't get me wrong. You know, the first time you'll be out of breath, you think, what the hell? But then you feel some sort of sense of achievement because you've ran to get your wine and you've got the reward at the end of it to enjoy, and you could do it again. So you haven't got to go and buy it now. 'Cause you've still got some wine left, unless you drink the whole bottle, that is. Uh, but but you should treat yourself at the end of a run. You know, even if you do a mile, 500 yards out, 500 yards back, or whatever it is, or half a kilometre and half a kilometre back to a kilometre, treat yourself at the end. There's a reward at the end of
Yeah.
it, and that's the key to it. You know, mine is what it used to be, and I'll explain it. Whatever is my reward, just to be an ice bath. Loved it. Absolutely love them. I know, and unfortunately I haven't done them, as you've probably noticed, for a little while now, and that's due to health issues and other stuff. But I'm gonna be back on it, and
Yeah.
please, you know, don't be disheartened. Anyone that did see me, you're probably all enjoying not being seeing my posts on my Instagram or whatever, I must admit. But I enjoyed it, you know, and it was my time to run for my mental health. But then I had that minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, depending on how long I'm in for, of recovery at the end to regather my thoughts and everything I've just done. And that again is time to focus on your mind. So yeah, so I love my running, absolutely love it. But yeah, that's what gave me the incentive, was giving up smoking, getting healthier. Had a charity place, so I had to go and run London. To which I did. I was successful. I did it 5 hours 15 minutes.
Brilliant.
Because I got a little bit of I was hoping for enough, but I got a hip injury because I got the wrong trainers. People, get the right trainers. So that gave me a few hip problems, but it was an experience and a half to be able to see your family as you're running around, friends, and then, you know, crossing that finish line and being part of that 1% of the population in virtually in the world that's run a marathon, which is a great achievement. And then you get the
That's
bug.
incredible.
You finish.
Yeah.
I'm never doing it again, and then you're signing up 2 weeks later.
On to the next one. I want to talk about what I know the month of September, you know, is big for you in terms of what you've been through in your story, and you know, reason why you're fundraising now, and you know, your whole recovery journey. If we could talk about that and you know, share your incredible. It must have been scary. It must have been, you know, such a whirlwind of a process. And now that you're in remission, you know, to share that with our listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got fit. I got healthy. I gave up smoking. Got to a good place, and I was enjoying life and whatever. And then in 2023, around about sort of June time, started getting quite fatigued after my runs, and then a little bit lethargic. Didn't think much of it at the time. Carried on, sort of like as us men do, push ourselves.
Mm.
And then I got a bit of a lump in my throat on the right side underneath. Basically, where the best way to describe it is when you get a sore throat, your glands come up. And Mum says, "Oh, you're going to get a sore throat, or you're going to be ill because your glands are up." That's what it felt like. So I had this lump come up, and I thought I was going to get a sore throat, so I didn't think no more of it. And then it stayed, and no symptoms came of a sore throat or a cold. And I plodded on, as they say. And then I said to my wife, "I still got this." She said, "Well, go and get it checked. So I was fortunate enough to get a GP appointment. As we won't go there, but yeah, I was fortunate enough to get one. And went and saw. And it turned out to be my one of my guys from the rugby club's wife, who's a nurse practitioner, I think it was, what her title was. I went to see her and explained, bang, she felt it. Said, okay, said, what I'll do is I'll refer you to the hospital. So I'm going to tell you now, it's probably you're looking at an 8 to 12 week wait as such. I said, okay, all right. So came away. That was on a Tuesday. And then that was towards the end of July, I think it was. Yeah. And then went home. And then the Friday night of that week, I woke up probably about, well, early hours Saturday morning, about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was constantly swallowing fluid. So I got up, went to the bathroom, and I just literally, like, it was just felt like saliva, such fluid flowing. And I usual thing sort of like spat a bit out, and it was just clear, pure blood. And we're not talking clots, we're talking as if you used to slice your arm open or cut your arm, the blood that pours it was just that clear. It wasn't thick, it was pure blood coming out. So I was like, right, okay, coughed a bit more and more came out. Did the usual gentleman bloke thing. I'll go back to bed, stop, and I'll deal with it in the morning and see what happens. Yeah. So usual bloke, don't want to worry anybody. So I went back to bed, still swallowing a bit, but it eased off. Went back to managed to get myself back off to sleep. And about 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, I woke up again swallowing. This time it's quite a lot, and I coughed, and in coughing, it just came out, and it just like the bed and the curtains and, and all sorts and that. And my wife woke up and put the light on. She said, "You all right?" I went, "No." And then she saw the blood. She was right, hospital. So we went to the hospital. We arrived there at 5:30 on a Saturday morning. Dead quiet, straight in. Doctor straight away, no queuing because there's no one there. If you ever need to go to the local hospital, go at 5:30 in the morning because it's semi-shift change and they want to get you seen before they go home. So, but yeah, went through, run loads of tests, did X-rays and stuff, and the consultant came in and said, "Look, we can't see anything at the moment. It seems to have stopped. There's not a lot we can do as such, but if it happens again, come straight back." It was like, okay, fine. So, I was laying in the hospital bed, sort of like feeling sorry for myself for the drip because they put stuff in, and then, so this eventually sent me home, that morning, and then basically I got a phone call from the GP. I think it was a week or so later, saying you need to come and see us because we've had this refer from the hospital, and that escalated things for me. And she was able to refer me quicker, and then basically from beginning of sort of like, I think it was about the first weekend in August, or first Friday in August, I think it was. I got a consultation with a ear, nose, and throat consultant at my local hospital. Put a camera up my nose to go into my throat and have a look. Said, okay. Said, what I'd like to do is just do a MRI on you. And that, so I'll book you in for an MRI. There could be a possibility for a CT and maybe a biopsy, but we'll cross that bridge as we go on. I was like, yep, no worries, whatever. Came out of the hospital and got a phone call. Are you available on Saturday morning for an MRI? And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. What time? Bang, bang. So that was it. So I went in the Saturday, had the MRI carried out. To which obviously they found the lymph node as such in there. So they took a scan of it, or what they do, images. We came out of there, literally got in the car and the phone rang. I was like, hello. She said, it's Mason Hospital again. Are you available on Saturday for a CT scan? I was like, yeah, okay. So the following Saturday went in, had a CT scan, came out from there. Again on the Saturday, got a phone call. Could you come in on Thursday for an MRI? We need to do a biopsy. I was like, right, okay. So this is now bang, 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 pretty quick.
Yeah.
and I was like, that was it. Yeah. So I went in, and it was, sorry, let me back. Sorry, it was MRI, CT scan came out, and then it was a Tuesday, the 6th or something. It was 4 days before the Great North Run. It was. Could you come in for an MRI and a biopsy? I said, yeah, not a problem. So off we went. Saw the consultant, and it's incredible what they did. A needle went in, and he took the biopsy, and we both sort of like. I sat there and I said, look, I said, I need to know what's going on. I said, this has happened really quickly,
Mm.
and understand, and I want to know what's going on. And I appreciate, obviously, you can't tell me fully, but I need to know what's going on. And the consultant was a quite high up consultant. He said, we'll be honest, Mr. Fletch. He said, you're looking at two options. He said, you've either got an infection, he said, or we're looking at something severe. I said, well, I looked at him as stone cold as I could. I said, I know I haven't got an infection because my bloods are all clear. And he said, a guy of your age, what we're probably looking at cancer. And that was the first time I heard the words. I contemplated it, but hearing it, it just hit me. And then the next immediate words that came out of my mouth were, "Can I run the Great North Run on Sunday?"
Oh my
I
gosh.
know, and my wife looked at me as if there was daggers, honestly,
Yeah.
and she just shook her head, and because I hadn't taken it in, and
Mm.
yeah, so can I run the Great North Run on Sunday? And he looked at
Yeah.
me and he went, see how you feel. Listen to your body. If you want to, then do it, but listen to your body. There's no reason you can't. You're going to be in for a long road. He said, so do what you want to do now. So I thought, okay. So we came out of the hospital. I drive home. My wife's like, you all right? You're all right. And I was like, no, I need to focus on driving because if I stop,
Yeah.
I'm just going to go. Um,
Mm.
we got home and we processed it. And then basically we made the trip. We didn't tell anyone. Um, we dealt with it ourselves, and then basically the first person I came down and had to tell my mum, and that was hard because I'd lost my father to cancer, um, and yeah, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is tell my mum that I've got cancer. So basically, I was diagnosed with a 4 centimeter tumor on the base of my tongue, stage 4. I was told, had this all confirmed after I'd run the Great North Run on Tuesday, the 12th of September. So September's a big month for me, as you said.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, to be told that. So yeah, I had a 4 centimeter tumor on the base of my tongue. It spread into my lymph node in my throat. And then basically the process started. So they went through everything I'd have to go through. I went to see the cancer oncology unit, and saw my cancer consultant who explained what they were going to be doing. So I was to have 35 sessions of radiotherapy and 3 chemo sessions, to do this. There wasn't an option at that point to remove it because of the size. And basically the terminology was that the cancer that I'd got was treatable but not curable. So that was a big step as well. And then I went through all the processes of being it. I tried to document as much as I could because I
Mm.
wanted to try and get people to understand what was going on and see it for themselves. But I started, the first day was, it's on my Instagram, and it's the first day we was late because I just didn't want to go out the door,
Oh.
really.
Yeah.
So the first day was a day, so I had my mask fitted. So basically you're fitted with a mask over you, and then you're clamped. Like I said, it sounds horrendous. You're clamped to a bed, flat bed, because basically where the cancer is and what they're doing is they're radiating that specific pinpoint. So you get lots of beforehand, you have lots of tests done and scans where they set up all the lasers so they can pinpoint it correctly and get your face right. So I've got a little, my cancer dot, I call it, on my chest here, which is a tattoo of a dot, which is the pinpoint for the center for them to get everything and their angles right. So yeah, you lay on a flat bed, your mask goes on, it's proper tight, and you're clamped down so you can't move. And I had that every single day for, apart from Saturday and Sunday, for 7 weeks, 35, 7 weeks. A full day of chemo on the first day, chemo in the middle and at the end. And yeah, it was. We spoke before we came on, and I said I wouldn't, but I will do. It was fucking horrendous. It was the worst time in my life, and I've been to some low places. To a point where there was a point halfway through it where I just about had enough. So basically, because of the cancer I was getting and the treatment, my throat would swell. It would become ulcerated and sore. I wouldn't be able to eat. I could just about drink sips of water to keep my moisture. I had a feeding tube fitted into my stomach, and I was fed basically with a Ensure's strawberry, or choose whatever flavour, it didn't matter. Little Ensures that my wife would dilute and put into me. When it got to a point where I would go and have treatment, I would come back and I'd just be going to bed because I was just wiped out. It wipes you out. It does wipe you out. Everybody's different, don't get me wrong, but this just wiped me out. And I'm normally quite active, and it was, yeah, it was not great, to a point where one day she came and I just couldn't take it anymore. And it was a case of, like, I got up, she struggled to get me up, go and have my treatment, come back, and I'd go to bed, and I'd be to go to sleep. Now, bearing in mind, she just fed me, and the sleep process you need, because you need to recover and be able to, the treatment to work. It was enough for me to, like, be wiped out that much that I had no sense of time. So she would come back at lunchtime to feed me, and I'm like, "No, you've just fed me." She went, "No, that was." I went, "No, you've just fed me. Fuck off, get out, leave me alone." And to a point where I just about had enough, and I said, "I can't do it anymore." I could not do it anymore. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was like, "No, that's the end of." Um, D went out. Basically, it was all. So she was in the spare room whilst I was recovering and going through the treatment. She would do her grieving and her upset in her, so she wouldn't show it to me. So I always thought she was being strong. To when I literally bailed and said I've had enough, she went out and did what she needed to do. And she said she put her big girl pants on as such, and then literally she came flying through the door and read me the right act. Proper read me the right act. It's not about you. There's this. You got to do this for everyone, and everyone's behind you, and that's what kickstarted it, basically. You know, and I laid down. I thought, yeah, you're right. I had a good friend of mine. Well, I not just a good friend. I had loads of good friends that were checking in via D. And I had a fellow rugby guy, Big Tobes. Again, he's another one that's tall, Big Tobe. He would call me every Friday just to check in. It would just be a phone call of, like, "How you doing? Yeah, good. Bye." Phone. And that's all I needed, just to know there are people out there. Yes, I was dealing with, my wife all the time, but there was other people involved in this, not just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sent me to horrendous places. But what I will say is, I'm here today. So, and without that treatment and without that help and care that I received at the hospital, not just me, my wife as well, I probably wouldn't be here. And that's not a lie, and it's not a statement to say to try and scare people. I probably wouldn't, because it is harrowing to hear those, to hear that cancer is harrowing. and now I do what I can, not just to raise money for, and I'm raising it at the moment for the head and neck
Yeah.
unit up there. I do it because I want people to be aware of their own bodies. Check yourselves. Check
Mm.
yourselves. I know we've just gone through it. They're going through it now for ladies. Check your boobs and do
Yeah.
this. And men have their prostrates checked. Make sure you do, guys. But it's just your general body. Head and neck cancer is slowly on the rise because, yeah, I'm smoker. It's smoker related. Don't get me wrong. Um, there is a lot to it. Rod Gilbert's doing a hell of a lot. And I was fortunate enough to be able to meet him at one of his shows, and he had virtually the same as myself. The treatment he went through was identical, and just going back to that is, when I was diagnosed, obviously his documentary had just come out. So I was able to get a bit of an insight of what I was going to be going through and seeing it, So hats off to him for him documenting. And that's what spurred me on to try and document what I could. And I tried to do it as much as possible, give videos where Peter was at, but literally it wipes you out. And,
Yeah.
and I felt bad not doing it. And I was like, no, you need to recover it. Don't worry about doing it. We know you're going through it. We know what you're going through. But yeah, I focus now, and I'm a big advocate and a big ambassador, not ambassador, but try to be, for people to check themselves
Yeah.
over, not just your private parts, not just your boobs, not just your neck, balls, gentlemen, and whatever. And your neck, check your neck, check under your arms. We say to ladies, check under your arm for your lip. Guys have got them nearer too.
Yeah.
Please check. And the key point that I say now is, if your body doesn't feel right, go and get it checked. Okay. I know there's a waiting list for GPs. I know there's a waiting list to see, doctors and stuff like that, but eventually you will go and see it. We've all paid national insurance. We're all entitled to the greatest national health, free national health
Yeah.
service in the world, virtually. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't leave that seat until you've got the answers you want. What's the worst case scenario they're going to do? Phone the police. Okay, so the police officer turns up. You've got to leave. Well, no, I've paid my dues. I want the right answers. Do you know what I mean? I'm not leaving until I've got my answer. And if you have to do it, fingers crossed it's not going to come to that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sort of promoting that, but your doctor will grasp it in the end. If you know your body, okay, I know my body. You know your body, Emily, and your husband
Yeah.
knows, or your partner knows his body, and vice versa. I know if something's not right. So you're entitled to have that checked. It may be nothing. It could be it could be a cold or whatever. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
you're entitled to get it checked. So that's the big thing for me at the moment is, if something doesn't feel right, go and get it checked, please. Because you just don't know. I was fortunate enough that I caught it early-ish. Stage 4, fine. It's quite advanced, but I was fortunate enough to get it. I probably could have stopped it, got it earlier if I'd gone earlier. Maybe, I don't know. That's hindsight. Don't get me wrong, but please, if something doesn't feel right, go and get it checked, because it's key you get it done. I've come through the other end. I'm in remission. I've got ongoing tests because I've got a few abnormal cells, and I've had regular PET scans because I've got, potentially may have come back on the other side. I don't know, because something's not right. Because again, I'm sitting here and I've actually demanded the PET scan because I'm saying to the consultant, something's not right on this side. It's sore when I swallow, it's hurting. Something doesn't feel right. So they've done a PET scan. They've done a biopsy as well on the left. They found some abnormal cells on one of the on the biopsy as such. So that's why I've had the PET scan now, and I'm waiting for those results to come back. If it's clear, happy days. There's obviously something else. If it's not, then they're able to treat it or be able to do something. So there's there's the one that you want. Go and get it checked if you're not happy. I said something's not right. So
Yeah.
they will check it. So yes, I'm in remission at the moment. I finished treatment the 22nd of December, 2023. So Christmas was wiped out for me. I managed to get up briefly for about an hour in the morning, And then basically I went back to bed and I stayed in bed for about 2.5 weeks. Basically, I was just out of
Wow.
it, literally. Um, yeah, prior to starting treatment, I was told to put weight on because I would lose some. I lost. There's a slight funny story. There was there's the two parts to it, so it end up brings a little bit of light to it. Is I lost over 4.5 stone in it, and yeah,
Gosh.
but I was going to my treatment with 0.5 kilo weights in my pockets because basically if I'd lost too much weight, they would take me in, and there was no way I was going into hospital. So I made myself.
Oh my
I,
gosh.
I would put kilos like so because you have to be weighed before you go in. So like I can't promote it. Don't get me wrong. So it was naughty and bad because I was falsifying my weight as such, and it could have had major consequences. So please don't do it yourself. I
Don't
did
do
it, my own
that.
choice, but yeah. Um, but even my wife didn't know, to try and so they wouldn't take me in. Um,
Yeah.
so I had that, and then there was one day where I was feeling pretty rough, and I went to hospital so I was fortunate enough. My lovely friends at Design by Sports gave me this lovely hoodie, which is my slogan all the way through. Big Fletch has got this,
Love
and that was
that.
my slogan through my treatment. And
Mm.
I wore this every day for treatment. Now it got washed
Gosh.
at the weekends, but every day I wore this. And I was sat there one day, and I had my hoodie up because I was feeling
Mm.
proper rough. And one of the guys come up and said, "You all right, Fletch? How you doing?" I was like, "No, not good." And literally he just popped his head down. He went, "At least you're not having your cock zapped." Like it's because he was. Right. And honestly, it brought a smile to my face. And I was like, "Do you know what? There's people out there far worse than what I'm having done." And
Oh,
it was brilliant. It was just something you need. There's little moments like that that pick you up.
yeah.
Um, and it got me through, and it was just I thought, do you know what? Hats off to you, fella. That's right. It's true. I'm having my neck, and he's like Zach, and I'm like no. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I got through it all. Lost a load of weight from it. Which I'm struggling to put back on, but getting there.
Mhm.
Um, and then I set myself a little goal of like the winter 10K was in 2024 in February, and I wanted to do it. I knew it was not going to make it, so I walked it, and that was the start of my fundraising as such.
Oh,
So yeah, 2024, I walked the winter 10K under strict guidance, and I did, and I walked it all, and I loved
mm,
it. Then
amazing.
I moved on to a couple of other late runs, and then obviously I did the Great North Return to the Great North in 2024, and ran that in a very, very one of my quickest times at the time. Um, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Loved it. That was brilliant. And again, raising money, went through a couple of events, did the Winter 10K in 2025 and run 58 minutes to sub hour, which I was really chuffed with. Again,
Wow,
through
fantastic.
training, yeah. And
Yeah.
then what else have I did a couple of other 10Ks. I did the A6 10K. I've done the Saucony 10K, sorry. The
Wow.
Essex 10K. I've done the Serpentine 2 mile swim recently.
Yes, I saw that. You did your
L-
swim.
Loved that.
Incredible.
That was brilliant again. And
Mm.
just prior to that, I think it was a week before or a couple of weeks before, I did the Great North time in my quickest time ever for the Great North Run. So again,
Amazing.
absolutely chuffed to bits, and that was with a dodgy knee as well. And then basically my last race is coming up. So I've got on the 19th of October is the Great South down in Portsmouth. That's my last race of the year, or for my fundraising. I'm just over £2,000. So, if you go onto my Insta, Big Fletch Runs, the link's in my bio. Please, if you want to donate, I'll be more than happy. All money is going to just the head and neck cancer unit that treated me. So it's going in and it's going specifically to them. It's not being dispersed anywhere else in the hospital. It's going to that sole charity in the hospital that looked after me and looked after everybody else. Um, so yeah,
Mm.
I'm enjoying life. Obviously, as you well know, and I'm sure it's probably one of your next questions, the ice bath, probably. I see you itching.
Ah, well, we both won, didn't we? Because I
Yeah,
won the next one. You won the
yeah,
MyoMaster 30-day challenge,
yeah.
and I won the Sunrise one, which I think was harder because I had to wake up earlier.
Yeah, I know.
But, that's a well-deserved win. For all our listeners who don't know, an ice bath is this big tub that's really fucking cold. You get in, stay in for a little while, shiver your bollocks off, and get out feeling amazing. Tell us about that. How has that helped you?
So massively. So obviously, I was
Yeah.
fortunate enough that I'd done ice baths before, rugby
Mhm.
and stuff like that, and I used it then for more recovery. Then I got into my running, and I was using it then for my running for recovery as well. So I'd just go legs, get my legs recovered. I was using a wheelie bin before I sort of like took the plunge and bought a pop up round one as such from
You
a.
used the wheelie bin.
I used a wheelie bin. Honestly, I
Why
think
did
there
you
was
find
one.
one big enough? Because you're really
It was only
tall.
for looking. Oh, it was for my legs. I only went to legs in the wheelie bin. Yeah, but there is. It's on my Instagram. There is one on me in a wheelie bin. So that was
Yeah.
outside the back door. But again, it wasn't able to be. It was great in the winter, bash the ice,
Yeah.
and it's cold. But when you come to summer, it warms up and it's hard. So I bought a cheaper. I'm not going to mention any names. Cheaper pop up rum, which was great. But then I used Hello Fresh, I think it was ice packs that come. So I used all of them to keep it
Oh,
cold. And in the end, I was like, "No, this is not right." And I knew of a certain gentleman called, Joe Gray, from My Master. I'm not going to lie. And made I said, "Look," I said, I need to sort this. Something's not right. What can we do, Joe? I'm doing this. Sort you out, Fletch. No worries." So, and I did. It wasn't free. I did pay for my master bath, ice bath, and chiller. I didn't win. I won the sauna, but yeah, I paid for my ice bath. Mate's rate, but I did pay for it. And absolutely love it. So it comes with a chiller, so I was able to get that temperature I wanted, and that's when it all
yeah.
kicked in. So I was using it for recovery, but virtually after the treatment. So I've had it prior to me cancer treatment.
Mhm.
I used it what I could during treatment, but I just couldn't because of basically my immune system was low because of the chemo
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I couldn't do it because of infection and stuff like that. So I had to stop. But the moment I was back up, sort of like end of Jan, Feb, I think it was it may have been January I started, and I got up to about 100 and something days. I was doing pretty well, pretty
Oh,
every single day I was in it. And I had it set between I think the lowest I went was about 1.5 to 1 degree on the chiller. Um, but it was on average around about 3. So I was doing it, but I was doing it more for my mental health
yeah.
massively because it is great because when you do ice baths, the key, and I'm not a professional, but I've done many of them, and I know what I'm doing as such. So, the key for an ice bath is one to get the temperature set right to what you want. Please don't go plunging into minus whatever. Work your way up, but it's
Yeah.
about timing as well. You shouldn't be doing more. I say, I say to people, don't do more than 4 minutes. There's no need because the
Yeah.
benefits go because your body warms up inside and it starts to react and you don't get the full benefits from it. On average, between 2 to 3 minutes, I would say is pretty good. So I started, and again, I've done them before, so I built myself up. Please don't go jumping in and sitting there for 2 minutes or whatever. I think I started at 30 seconds over the course of a week or so, every day, 30 seconds, and then you just add time on, time on. But the key to it is step in and then control and focus your breathing. Get
Mm.
some breathing going normally, and then some real deep breaths. And then when you go to sit in, it is a shock. So you have to control that breathing. Okay. And it's all about the exhale. So getting the breathe in, getting the exhale out, forcing it out, pushing it out as far as you can. And then get the next breath and go. And then focus on that for probably 10, 15 seconds. And then you'll start to calm. Then the benefits start to kick in because then you can just
Yeah.
sit there and focus. and you will focus because you've got nothing else to do apart from concentrate on what you're you want to be. You want to get this done. You want to get it done. You want to get warm. Well, and then obviously get out and recover. But you'll feel so the benefits from it are fantastic. I see yours, and you jump. Everyone who come out, it's a jump for joy. It's a
Yeah.
jump for joy. And I think it's great because again, I've followed yourself starting out from the round tub to advancing to a Maya Master bath and stuff like that, and you've even roped your other half into it.
Yeah, he's in now. He's got
Yeah.
no choice.
There's no way, Dee would never have got it, and she still wouldn't get in it now. But I mean, like, I'm impressed, and I'm like, wow, hats off to you. But the benefits are so good, and I know you do this great podcast here, and that, and that's the key for me. This is about your mental health and being in control. It's
Yeah.
3 to 4 minutes of your day for you. It's your time that you just literally got
Mm.
to focus on something different. You ain't got to worry about money. You haven't got to worry about food. You ain't got to worry about bills. You ain't got to worry about what you got to do at work. All you got to worry about is focusing for 3 4 minutes in the ice bath
Yeah.
working. But
Getting
I love
through
it.
it.
I actually, and I can't wait. As I said, I've had to step away for a little bit because of
Mm.
I had some health issues and stuff like that. But I will be back, and I'll be doing it properly again. So I won't be plunging in for 2 3 minutes to start with. I'll get the temperature right, and it'll be 30 seconds to 40 seconds, and then getting used to it. And it's fabulous. It's people think you're bonkers, and you really do. But until you try it and do it,
That's
you
it.
don't know. Once
Yeah.
you've tried it, it can be addictive. It can be. But it's,
Yeah.
it's just doing it right and doing it controlled. Please just
That's
don't
it.
go jumping in. There's another guy that's doing one as well, and I think he's doing 250 days, and he's quite a way into it. But some of his temperatures fluctuate. It's cold. It's sometimes I think he gets in about 7 or 8 degrees.
Mm.
It's still cold enough to have an effect.
And
It's what suits you and what suits your body. Um, but yeah, I've found it a great inspiration for me mentally, massively. So I thoroughly enjoy it. Absolutely love it.
I think that's I can be a testament to that as well. It is addictive. It is moreish. It does make you feel really great. And don't get me wrong, I never actually want to get in. Like I'm always like,
Yeah,
and then when I get in, I'm like, yeah, oh, victory.
it is, and people watching this are seeing this. That whatever he
Yeah,
just did, that there's always this jump when she comes out and finishes, and
yeah.
it's great to watch, and it is brilliant. So, but yeah, it's great. But yeah, if anyone wants to try it, there's other ice baths out there. Don't get me wrong, at
Mm.
cheaper cost, or get yourself a wheelie bin and fill it
Get
up, and
yourself
just
a
start with
wheelie
that.
bin. That's
Yeah,
it. Get yourself a wheelie bin.
yeah,
Right, I want to wrap up with some
yes.
quick fire questions now. So
Oh.
these are questions I ask all my guests. I'm really intrigued to see what you're going to say. I think we've probably answered the first one already, but I'd be
I'm
interested if you have
I'm running.
anything.
I'm going to say I'm running blinded because I haven't stopped and watched the end bit on purpose.
Oh,
So I
what
don't know
is
what the
going to
questions are.
be exciting for you then, isn't it?
Uh,
No, nothing scary.
Go on.
No. Do you have any rituals that you do daily?
Yes, I do now.
Oh, you
Never
do
used
know.
to. I say to myself when I open up and I breathe, it's going to be a good day,
Oh,
and I do that honestly every day now. When I wake up and I'm awake and I know I've taken that first breath, I know it's going
yeah.
to be a good day. So that's my ritual basically.
I love that so much. And what a testament to what kind of, a man you are now, to what you've been through
Yeah,
as well. Very
that's
positive.
that's why.
Yeah. Right, next one. Describe what wellness means to you.
Wellness means to me being happy with yourself,
Yeah.
being happy in your mindset, and enjoy the day you're about to start.
Yeah.
That's wellness to me, if I'm honest.
Mm. That's a really, really
It is.
important message. Yeah. Is there a message that you would like to leave for our listeners? Any words of advice or any tips?
It goes back to what I've said before. If something doesn't feel right in your body, please, please, please go and get it checked. Don't leave it till the next day. Don't leave it till the next week. Go and get it checked. Make that call, book an appointment. Yeah, you may have to wait 3-4 weeks for an appointment, but you've made that call and you're going to get seen. If you don't feel right, something's not right, get it checked. All right. I don't want to leave on a somber note. Hopefully there's another question that's going to make it happy, but cancer is on the rise. From several years back, it was 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. Now it's like 1 in 2, and it's hard, and I'm not going to go political, but more needs to be done. I
Yeah.
appreciate and understand there's a lot more, I'm the terrible news today of a fellow rugby guy that I know as well, Lewis Moody, being dies as well with MND. There's stuff on the rise. Everything needs allocation and needs looking into, but the key is go and get checked, catch it early. That's what I'd leave.
I think that's a very important and relevant message. So thank you. And where can our listeners connect with you and support your work? I know you've already kind of mentioned your Instagram, but mention that
Yeah.
again and I'll
So
drop it.
Instagram is Big Fletch Runs. All my stories are on there. I try and post what I can when I'm running. There's a link in my bio. There's the link to my Just Giving page as well. I'm trying to raise as much as I possibly can for the unit. Richard Fletch Fletcher is on Facebook. Selective is on there. I'm on. I think it's what's the other way? Don't have TikTok. Oh no, I'm on TikTok, but I don't really. I haven't grasped TikTok yet. I haven't got TikTok yet. There's Instagram, as I said, Facebook, and I think the other one is Threads. And then obviously I'm on LinkedIn as well under Richard Fletcher. So by all means, go and have a look. It's mainly Instagram, if I'm honest. I'm on there. I do post on a thing. I'm part of a running group, 40 Runs. I'm also fortunate enough that I'm on the admin side of Run Pod as well, which is another podcast that Jenny Faulkner looks after. So it's not shame. Please don't go around. That's more running. So if you love your running, go and check that out. So there's some great inspirational people on there as well. So I'm involved in that group. So it's around, but it's mainly Instagram. I think everybody knows that. So it's Big Fletch Runs on Instagram. You'll see my journey, and there's posts up there from my cancer journey as well. But yeah, it's there's some dark bits in there. But there's also some little funny bits and stuff where we turn up late on day one and getting told off. But hey ho, that's the part of it. But and you'll see on there some pictures of my mask and stuff like that, which I've still got. I swore blind that I'm going to keep that until I'm fully clear as such. But yeah, please, this has been fantastic. It's been lovely talking to you. It really is, and I'm so honoured that you messaged me and asked to come on. And it's come right at the right time where I am pushing for people to go and get checked and make themselves aware of what is out there. You can survive. It is a killer. Don't get me wrong, cancer it is, but people do survive and people do come through it. I'm living proof of that so far. Touch wood. I'm still ongoing, but I'm still here. And as I said earlier, is the other key thing is I say is live for today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about the next day. Don't worry about that, because it's in the future. It's you'll get to it when you wake up in the morning. And as I said, that is the first thing I do. I wake up and I know it's going to be a good day. It's changed me mentally. It's changed me in my head. I still have counselling. Don't get me wrong. It's caused a few family issues as such, but I work for it. It does put a strain on your family massively. But if you can work through it and get through it, it's there. And have great support. Family and friends have been amazing. All my friends. I'm not going to name anyone because there's just loads of them that have been there. All the way through, but my family have been there all the way through as well. The support of the grandkids as well. So it's been it's been an incredible journey, and it has, and I wouldn't want to wish it on anyone, but at the end of the day, it's life,
Yeah.
and we all face challenges, and that was probably my biggest challenge so far in my life. It's been a massive one, and that's even more challenging than trying to run 26 mile, I must admit. So, um, but
Absolutely.
but yeah, it's good. So and it has its downsides, I've got a lack of saliva, so I have to take magic water everywhere. Um,
Mm.
been damaged, so trying to eat a sandwich and a cracker bread is a bit of a nightmare because I don't produce enough saliva because that's all been damaged. But yeah, I mean, I'm still going. I still laugh about it. I joke about it, and I think you have to because otherwise you can get too down in the gloom. You know, I'm not going to go into graphic detail, but I think I said earlier, Rod Gilbert done a documentary, and if people want, see mine, go and see his documentary because it is quite inspiring. And then I know he's doing a tour as well. And if you're fortunate enough and you like Rod Gilbert, go and see it. And anyone that has seen it, all I will say to you is the spoon is true. And I will leave that there.
Now we need to watch it.
Really, I'm going to see him on tour. Wait for his video. If he does bring a video out, the Giant Peach, which is about his cancer journey as stuff, but he absolutely goes to town. But there's a section in it where he talks about the spoon, and that's all I'm going to say. I
Oh,
might let you know
no.
privately, Emily, but I
Privately,
might
yeah.
let you sweat a little bit. But there is a lovely story. Well, say lovely. There's a story about a spoon, and
You
and
know we're
it's
all gonna go and watch that now,
yeah,
so
because it is true, and I vouch for it. So yeah,
thank you for coming on my
mm,
podcast. It's been a pleasure hosting you.
brilliant.
And to all our listeners, thank you for listening, and please tune in next week.